Hi guys, in this video we're going to learn to add fractions where the denominators are not equal to each other. Okay, so if you remember from the last few videos on fractions, I left off with a few problems actually, where the denominators were not equal. Okay, and I believe this was one of them. So let's jump right in. If you missed the last video, be sure to go back and watch it. I'll place a little link in this video for it, and also subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be updating with new videos and taking you along on this ride all the way on up to calculus and beyond. Okay, so let's jump right in. So notice here, once again, let's stress this, that the denominators are not equal. And when you have a case like this, you cannot just add 1 plus 1 and get 2 here, and I don't know what you would do in the denominator here. Denominators have to be equal when you're adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, so how to do that? What new denominator should we get? Well, this is the steps. The steps I use are guaranteed to get you a common denominator that you can work with. That's also what's called the least common denominator. So your fraction is as simple as you can get it. Okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, you take the first denominator and you write down the multiples of that denominator. So what are multiples of 2? Well, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? And we can go on and on and on. Okay? You'll see that you don't need to go on and on and on. You'll notice stuff. Let's write multiples of the second denominator. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, on and on and on. But really what I'm interested in is where do those two equivalent? And you can see here that they both have the same multiple at 6. And in fact, the least common, meaning that they're the same, the least common multiple of the two is at 6, right? If I were to actually continue the left side, the next number would be 12. And you would think, hey, this is a common multiple. And you'd be right. That's a common multiple. But guess what? This one is the least common multiple, and that's what you want. Okay, so we use the 6. Okay, so we rewrite this fraction. We kind of write a ghost fraction. Actually, let me leave some space. Leave some space. Okay, you kind of make this ghost setup, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that 6. You're going to take that 6. That 6 is going to be your new denominator. But before you can do that, you have to do something to these denominators to get them to be both 6, so that then you can add them. Okay? And what you have to do is figure out what you had to multiply each denominator by in order to get it to be 6. Okay? So let's think about that. In order to get 2 to be 6, which is what we eventually want, right? Let me write it here maybe. This is our goal, okay? Let me write it in different color. Our goal is to get to here, okay? Where we have 6 plus 6 in the denominator at least, okay? I'm not going to write what's in the numerator because that's also going to change based on what we do in the denominator. But this is our goal, to get both the denominators to be the same so that we can go ahead and add them. And as you saw in the last video, once the denominators are the same, we can just go ahead and add the numerators, and the answer will be something over 6. But the intermediary step is important here because we have to do something to get these denominators to be 6, and that's what we have to figure out here. So So I want to illustrate this with one really good example before I go on to doing tons and tons of examples, so you really get it. Okay, so spend the time here and learn this, and it'll pay off dividends, trust me. Okay, so how do we get this 2 to become our goal of 6? Well, how do we get to, what do we need to multiply 2 by to get it to 6? 3, right? So you will write, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to also do to the top, okay? And I'll write this like this. And I'll put a little dot here, which is indicating that we're multiplying the original fraction, 1/2, by 3/3. Okay? Why do we multiply by 3/3 again? We multiply 1/2 by 3/3 because in order to get 2 to our goal of 6, we need to multiply it by 3. And if whatever we do to the denominator of a fraction, we need to do to the numerator. And so we also multiply the numerator by 3. Okay? So whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator to keep the fraction equal to its original. And why do we want a goal of 6? Because over here in step 1, we determined that 6 was the least common multiple between the two fractions, between the two denominators, 2 and 3. Okay? So, I hope we're following along here. Let's keep moving. So the next fraction was 1/3. And we also want to get over to our goal of 6 in the denominator for this fraction. Now, how do we do that? We need to multiply it by something. Let me erase, let me make some space. Well, what do we need to multiply 3 by in order to get it to be equal to 6? 2, right? 2 times 3 is 6. So we need to multiply this 3 by 2 to get it to be 6. And whatever we do to the denominator, we also have to do to the numerator. Right? Whatever we do to the bottom, we also have to do the top. And these little dots over here is indicating that I'm multiplying 1/3 by 2/2. Over here I'm multiplying 1/2 by 3/3. I'm putting that dot there. Okay, that dot is multiplication. Okay? So, what are our new numbers over here? Let's do it. 1/2 times 3/3. If you haven't seen the video on multiplying fractions, this might be new to you. So just follow along here and you'll learn how to multiply fractions here. But in that video, you'll also be able to, you'll get a lot more examples. It's actually not that difficult. Okay? So 1/2 times 3/3, you just basically multiply across. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 3 is 6. So we get 3/6. Okay? And let me actually write that clearer here. So we get 3/6 plus 1/3 times 2/2, which is 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 2 is 6, which we already had. This was our goal, the denominators being 6. Now, if you remember from the previous video, once we have the two fractions with the same denominator, we can go ahead and just do the simple addition. So you're going to add 3 plus 2, which is 5, and the denominator stays the same. And that's how you add a fraction. Okay? So there's a few steps. You see, it's not that easy. It's not as easy as adding regular numbers. But in the end, once you do this process enough, it will become much smoother, and these intermediate steps that I really stressed will be, you won't even notice them. You'll take them for granted, and you'll move on to finishing these problems a lot quicker. Okay? This video was to introduce the concepts and work slowly through an example explaining every single detail and why we're doing everything so that we can get to our final answer. In the next video, I'm going to just do a bunch of examples, and taking for granted that you've seen this video, and it should sink in by the end of the second video. Okay, so make sure to subscribe so that you get all these subsequent videos and the newer videos as soon as I release them, without having to Google search or YouTube search them. And comment. I appreciate all your comments. So till next time, practice, 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 and have a great day.